On today's show,
it's all about stormwater wetlands.
So, ready to make a difference?
Building a better planet starts with you.
Aqua kids, traveling around the world, going where we've never been before, having fun and so much more, learning from our friends of the sea, saving them is up to you and me. Aqua Kids.
Hey everybody at home, and welcome to another exciting episode of Aqua Kids. I'm Drew.
and I'm Katie. On today's show, we're headed out to the beautiful wetlands of North Carolina.
We're actually going to a man-made stormwater wetland. The wetland serves to filter the water from Jack Smith Creek to take out all of the pollution that may be in the water.
Well, it sounds like a really neat process. Let's head over there and see just exactly how it works.
We're here at the Jack Smith Creek Stormwater Wetland in New Bern, North Carolina.
It's a regional project that filters stormwater from surrounding areas.
Well, let's go meet up with Katie and Clark and learn more about what it does.
All right.
We're here now with Chris and Kristen from the Jack Smith Creek Stormwater Wetlands Project. So, what exactly is a stormwater wetland?
Well, Katie, a stormwater wetland is a unique combination of engineering and also Mother Nature. But it's designed in order to capture stormwater runoff and provide some unique conditions to filter that water and clean it up.
Well, I know that these wetlands are man-made. What kind of work had to go into making them?
This project is a partnership between North Carolina's Ecosystem Enhancement Program, the City of New Bern, NC State, and our Clean Water Management Trust Fund to build this large stormwater wetland. It was many years in the making.
I can imagine.
About 6 months of active construction grading and planting. There are about 150,000 different plants out here that were installed as recently as about 2 months ago.
How does this water treatment wetland help Jack Smith Creek?
This wetland is capturing drainage from Jack Smith Creek, which drains a large portion, about 1,000 acres from the city of New Bern. We've routed Jack Smith Creek through this area. It goes through stormwater, through the treatment cells, and then back out into wetlands that go onto the Neuse estuary. Jack Smith Creek was experiencing a lot of flooding problems, and it's an urban drainage, so there's probably issues with pollutants, nutrients, different things that come in stormwater. And so now that water's all coming through here and being filtered out before it goes out to the wetlands.
So it's flow mitigation as well as removing particulates that might be damaging to other wetlands
Exactly,
downstream.
exactly.
And how exactly are these pollutants removed?
Well, wetlands create a very unique environment that can only be created in a wetland area. It's a very unique combination of physical, chemical, and biological conditions that can capture stormwater pollutants and convert them into harmless forms that are actually good for the environment.
That's really cool. And is that through plants or animals?
It's a combination of all those things. The plants, of course, are the most important part of a wetland system, but there's lots of things that are going on in the soil and under the ground that you can't see, which are really great for filtering pollutants.
How do water treatment wetlands work?
Well, Clark, this system is a very large system, and it's designed to have a multiple cell treatment train approach. And the way it works is we start with a big pond, and the water that's pouring in has time to sit and allow particulates to settle out. Then the water flows to some of our other chambers, which we have 3 or 4 different chambers, and they're designed to maximize diversity of habitats, different types of plants. There's deeper water cells, there's shallow water cells, and all those things contribute to each other to maximize the treatment potential in the wetland.
So the difference of substrates and plant composition are really important in wetland treatments.
They're very important. They're very important for maximizing water contact during flood events, during pumping events, and it provides different habitat, which is great for fish and dragonflies.
So you have all this water flowing through the wetlands, and once it gets treated, where does it go?
It goes back to the creek from which it originated. Jack Smith
really?
Creek comes through here and it exits out just over behind my shoulder, and from there it goes back out to the Neuse River.
Awesome. I couldn't believe how big of a project the Jack Smith Creek Stormwater Wetland was.
I know. Not only were there so many people involved with the project, but also the wetland itself covered so many acres.
Luckily, it seems that the hard work put into making this project is paying off. Through the use of plants and other natural factors, this water is filtered and then brought back to Jack Smith Creek.
Absolutely. Don't go away. Aqua Kids will be right back. Aqua Kids presents another Aqua Kids pop quiz. Here's a pop quiz you can really sink your teeth into. Why do some species of otter have purple teeth? Is it A, an evolutionary adaptation to help disguise them from predators when they feed above water? B, they get stained from the ink of immature cephalopods that some otters eat? Or C, they get stained from eating purple sea urchins? Grab a snack, and I'll be right back with the answer after the break. So, did you guess why some otters have purple teeth? The answer is C, they get stained from eating purple sea urchins. It's believed that baby otters get purple teeth from their mother's purple milk. Of course, otters that live in areas where there are no purple sea urchins have white teeth. Aqua Kids is back.
Now we're going to get a chance to travel into the wetland and actually see all the plants that help filter the water.
We're here now in the wetland with Kristen, Laura, and Sean, an Aqua Kids club member. So guys, there's a lot of plants out here. What's the purpose of it?
We planted nearly 150,000 wetland plants out here. These plants are important, one, because of the nutrient uptake that they produce in the wetlands, and also having a diversity of plants creates a diverse habitat and gives you a lot of different species out here as well.
So it filters up the water?
Yes, and it cleans it and then it moves on down to the outlet.
So what types of vegetation are we seeing here?
Well, right here we have bulrush with the little brown flowers on the top, and then the white flower is actually called bull tongue. Yeah,
if you look at some of the leaves there on this plant right over here, you can see they're a little wider and actually kind of tongue-shaped.
Kind of do like a tongue.
Yeah, yeah. And then the ones with the little spores-looking things on them.
These ones right here?
Yes, that's a sedge. And then they're sometimes those can be very spiny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And how about the purple ones out there? Are they the same type of plant, or what are they?
Those are pickerweed, and pickerweed is purple, so it like the bull tongue actually adds some pop to the wetland. It's not just green. They are also a very good habitat for dragonflies and other species. You'll see bees floating around them as well.
There's an awful lot of still water here. I'm kind of expecting mosquitoes, but I don't see any.
That's a good thing. This actually, because we have such a variety of plants, it attracts insects that eat the mosquitoes, like the dragonflies that you might see around the pickerel weed.
I like dragonflies.
They're beautiful. There's a ton of them out here. And also, there's various water levels in each of these treatment cells, and while you're standing in it, you maybe can't tell, but the water does flow through the system. One thing you can see while we're standing here is an abundance of fish.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of fish will actually eat those mosquito larvae. So wetlands, stormwater wetlands, aren't necessarily mosquito habitat.
Oh, wow.
So we have all the fish and the insects and the plants, but what other types of wildlife can we see here?
We've got a tremendous amount of aquatic insects, which you probably aren't going to see right now because they're so small. But we do have, this is great bird habitat. We've seen white egrets out here. We've had some blue heron out here. We've seen ducks. We have a resident snapping turtle actually on the other side of the wetland that we've encountered a couple of times. We see deer out here. I'm sure there's a lot of other things we probably don't see that kind of hit the road while we come out here, but this is a really nice habitat.
And do any of these animals cause problems for the wetland?
Not right now. Initially, you have some concern if there are geese out here right after you plant it or right after you seed it, because they like to eat your seed or pull up your small plants, but now that everything's getting well established, that doesn't seem to be an issue.
Well guys, thanks so much for giving us so much great information on the wetlands.
Great, thanks for coming out. We hope you gained some information.
We did.
It was really neat to see that a man-made wetland like the one at Jack Smith Creek is home to so many different species.
Definitely. It's so cool to see that the wetlands really serve two purposes. One, to filter commercial and residential stormwater runoff, and two, to provide a nice habitat for so many creatures.
That's right. Did you know? While it may not seem like it, wetlands are actually very important to the economy. Both the fishing and shellfishing industries rely on wetlands to catch their product. Without these industries, the economy would be at a deficit of $15 billion a year. Welcome back to Aqua Kids.
Now we get to see the last step in the process, the final place the wetlands pass through before heading back into Jack Smith Creek.
Whoa. So Chris, what is this thing we're standing on?
What we're standing on is the outlet weir for the entire wetland system. What it does is controls the depth of water in the wetland and allows the water to flow out in a controlled way.
So that does answer Danielle's question. The water is moving.
That's right.
And do fish come through here as well?
They do. As you can see, there's a large outlet pool here, which are great for fish. And standing here, you can see them swimming by.
Yeah, you can. There's some going through the thing right now. The water looks really clean here as compared to when it was first coming out of the drains. Is that because it got filtered through?
You're right, Katie, it is really clean here. We have over 25 acres of wetlands that are treating the water as it comes through here. And NC State also has a monitoring program. We're taking samples of the water here and analyzing them in the lab to see how clean they are.
So what do you learn by getting all of this sampling information?
Well, there's lots that we can learn from a wetland like this and a sampling program like this. We can determine how big wetlands need to be, what type of plants work great in wetlands, and what types of flows work best for cleaning water.
And is this the last step in the process, or does it go somewhere else after this?
This is the final cleaning treatment of the water in this wetland. After this, it flows right through those culverts and back out to Jack Smith Creek.
Wow. So the clean water really does do a service to all the animals and the plants and the wildlife living out in Jack Smith Creek.
Absolutely.
Now we're here with Sean, an Aqua Kids Club member, and we're going to talk about water testing. So Sean, what do you do here?
Well, these are Imhoff cones, and they help check how much suspended particles are in the water. They have measurements on the bottom here, so you can see how much at the end is settled in the bottom. So you can take samples from different parts of the project to see how much suspended particles could be in one place and then how much are in the other place, so you can make sure that the project is doing its job.
Well, let's take these samples.
All right, we'll go do that. All right, so now we're gonna take some samples of the water so we can see how much sediment comes into this project and how much is taken out at the end.
All right, where do we take these samples?
We'll probably take them right here, because if we get out any further, it'll probably get a little bit deeper.
All right.
And too deep for us to go. So I'll probably just scoop some from the bottom here, from about the middle layer. And we'll probably do it around 500 milliliters of water.
All right.
There we go. So that's 500 milliliters from this first cell here where all of it's coming in from the Jack Smith Creek.
So where do we get our second sample?
We're gonna go to the last cell before it gets put back into the creek and get a sample from there and kind of judge between the two how much sediment is taken out of the water by this project.
All right, let's go.
All right. All right, so this is the second location and the last cell that we'll be taking our sample from.
All right. So is this the last place before it feeds back out?
Yep, if you look right over here, those three
culverts.
pipes lead right back to the Jack Smith Creek.
Oh, and then it refilters back in through?
Yep.
Cool.
And then it goes to the Neuse River.
All right, so let's get the sample.
All right. All right. So we're gonna get it out to about 500. And
so what are we looking for in these samples?
well, we're measuring for TSS, which is total suspended solids. It's basically all the dirt and other things that are in this water. So
is it good to have more or less?
It's good to have less by the end of the project, because that means that the project has done its job and actually filtered out all of the stuff that it was supposed to do.
Great. So where do these go from now?
So now we'll just wait for them to settle, and it'll take about 5 minutes or so. And once they settle, and we'll check at the bottom where these measurements are and see how much TSS is at the bottom compared to the other one at the beginning.
Hey guys, what do you got there?
We went out and got our samples from the two different cells, the beginning cell and the end cell, and we're going to see how much of a difference there is between the two samples.
All right.
So in this one, it looks like the water is a little bit foggier.
Right.
Yeah, you can definitely tell.
Already you can see that there's stuff at the bottom that is kind of settled from the water. Over here, this was taken from the last cell before it goes back into the creek, and looks a lot clearer.
So that means it filtered it all out?
Yep.
Wow, that's a good sign.
It's doing its job. That's a good thing.
So that means that the whole operation is working?
Yep, it's working good and it's working correctly.
That's great.
Drew, what did you think of the difference in the water before traveling through the wetlands versus the water afterwards?
I was pretty amazed. We'd heard that the wetlands filter the water, but I never knew just how much of a difference they would really make.
I know. The water was so clear after it traveled through the wetlands, it almost looked like you could drink it. Here's our top story: wetlands degradation becoming a serious issue. A few hundred years ago, the United States was covered with over 220 million acres of natural wetlands. Today, we have less than 110 million, a more than 50% decline in wetlands. But why? While some wetlands have disappeared just because of natural reasons, many of the wetlands have vanished due to human actions. Urban development, draining, dredging, dumping pollutants, and land exploitation are all huge contributors. Many times, an entire wetland area will be wiped out to put up a new shopping mall or fast food center. In fact, the United States is losing wetlands at a rate of over 70,000 acres per year. In places like California and Kentucky, the situation is much worse. In both locations, over 80% of the original wetlands have vanished. At one time, a quarter of Illinois was covered in wetlands. Today, only 3% of this same habitat remains. The Everglades have lost more than 3,000 square miles of precious land. But those aren't even the worst cases. In Iowa, 95% of the original wetlands are now plowed over with shops, farmlands, you name it. As the United States continue to lose more and more precious wetland habitat, it is not only the plants and animals that live there that will be affected. Rather, us humans are affected as well. Wetlands act as the Earth's natural sponge, soaking up thousands of gallons of excess water during floods. With wetlands destroyed, many scientists have stressed the dangerous increase in the probability of floods. So next time you see a proposal for a new shopping mall to be built on a wetlands area, think for a second. Eventually, this could put you in danger. I'm Katie with Aqua News, keeping you connected to our planet. Now back to Aqua Kids.
We're here now with Bridget, and in front of us we have a model of a rainwater treatment system. What are we going to do with this?
Well, this is actually called an Enviroscape. It's a watershed model, and it demonstrates really clearly why stormwater is a huge problem, and it is a huge problem. It's the #1 cause of water pollution in the whole country.
Wow.
So what we're looking at here is different land uses. We've got development, we've got a mountain over here where they've clear cut all the trees, we've got a farm for agriculture, we've got a little subdivision, and we've also got some streams and creeks running through this area, and they all feed down into this little lake here that everybody enjoys. It's nice and clean. They can go boating, swimming, fishing. But then when it comes to stormwater, the things we do every day, our day-to-day life starts to have an impact. For example, when they cut down all the trees and they're excavating here, you have sediment. You have sediment that's going to go down into the stream there, and they're building a house over here, so you're going to have some more sediment. And then over here, he doesn't have a cover crop, so you've got all that dirt exposed, so you got more sediment, more loose soil. There's no roots holding it in place.
Right.
Now, when it comes to the farm again, one thing about cows, they love to get in the creek to cool off, but they also leave manure in the creek. So we got a little problem here, a little cow manure. They might even have some chickens. And over here, there's a bunch of dog lovers. They walk their dogs a lot, but they don't clean up after their dogs.
Oh.
So once again, we've got problems in this neighborhood.
That's a big problem.
And you'll notice how green their lawns are. They like to use a lot of chemicals on their lawns, fertilizer. So they spray. Over here on the golf course especially, they got to keep it nice and green. We're using these pesticides and some weed killer.
Ooh.
And then, once again, it comes to the lawns. What do they do with the lawn clippings?
Cut the grass.
Yeah, they put them over here in the ditch. There's a storm drain right there. And they figure, oh, it'll go in the storm drain. It'll just disappear. But what people don't realize is that storm drains don't go to a treatment plant. They go to the nearest creek or stream or water body. So that water is never cleaned. That's really important to remember. Now, when you see all these vehicles, there's a lot of cars in this little town. If you don't maintain your vehicle and you've got oil leaking, it's going to get on the roadways. And if you've ever been like in a big parking lot after a rain and you see that rainbow sheen in a puddle, that's motor oil from vehicles. So we've got quite a blend here. We've got the motor oil, we've got grass clippings, we've got pesticides, we've got pet waste, and we've got sediment from erosion.
Very messy.
Well, just in time the clouds have come in. So what I want you to do, I want you to make it rain. If you'll pick up your rain bottles and just let it rain all over the watershed model. And what we want to watch here is the pond down at the bottom where everything's flowing to. So you're starting to see what's going on with this polluted stormwater runoff. Everything that was on the ground here is now being washed away down into the lake.
Well, thank you, Bridget. This is a great model to teach us how human actions are impacting our environment, and that it's really important that we act now to take steps to prevent this.
Well, we're out of time for today's episode.
What a shame. I could have stayed in those wetlands all day.
I know, me too, Drew. It was great to see how a natural process could be so effective in filtering the water from Jack Smith Creek.
It was also great to see the collaborative effort that went into making this wetland a reality. There were people from all different groups and organizations that all had one common goal: to better the environment.
Definitely. All of their hard work helps us to remember that everyone can do their part to keep this planet green and blue.
And so can you.
So visit our website for cool eco tips.
And fun links to show you how we can keep the world
and the water a great place to play and explore.
And we'll see you next time
on Aqua Kids.